Welcome, ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Thursday, the 5th of October. Good to have you aboard. We are part of the Believe Podcast Network, and everything ZASLOW Show 2.0 is always presented by Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. If you're dealing with a personal injury, slip and fall, hit and run, car accident, motorcycle, boating accident, if you have a back injury, whether you're at work, on the road, or in public, if you suffer long-term back pain through no fault of your own, Anidjar and Levine can help you pursue compensation. Anidjar and Levine, dedicated to providing the highest client support with no hidden fees or costs. Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys, 800-747-FREE. That's 800-747-3733. Got a fun show planned for everybody today. Glad to have you aboard as always here. Week 5 of the NFL gets going tonight. That means Jamie Eisenberg, CBS Sports Fantasy Football. We're going to have him on the show. He'll help us get to who to start, who to sit this week for our fantasy football teams. And that, of course, also means, hey, Bet Online, your #1 information source for all your sports wagering info, all the up-to-the-minute stats, news, scores, and matchup breakdowns. Get the latest game odds, spreads, and totals for all your NFL and college football action. It's at your fingertips with Bet Online's real-time updates on stats, news, and odds. For the start of the season, all the way through the college football playoff and the Super Bowl, Bet Online gives you access to the best football promotions and contests available anywhere online. Head to the Bet Online website today or use your mobile device and get in on the action. Remember, use your promo code BELIEVE, B-L-E-A-V, BELIEVE, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. So we'll get Jamie Eisenberg on the show. We'll get you set up for fantasy football. We got Bears at Commanders tonight, getting Week 5 going. We're just a few days away from the Dolphins' second home game of the season. The New York Giants in town. There will likely be a lot of Giant fans there this weekend. They're going to go home early and unhappy, as I think the Dolphins are taking their frustration out on the Giants after last week. Giants are in for a really long Sunday afternoon, and that comes after a really long Monday night where the Giants lost 24-3 at home to the Seahawks. Damon Amendolara, national radio host, CBS Sports Morning for years. Now he is on SiriusXM Mad Dog Radio every morning, 6 to 9 a.m. Damon Amendolara with Babchick every morning on Mad Dog Radio. He's going to join us. We'll talk some NFL with him. We'll do a little of the Major League Baseball, the Wild Card Series. We'll see if he likes the new format. So our pal DA, who was on radio here in Miami, he was on 560 Sports WQAM. Matter of fact, he was on opposite me. He was on in the evenings on QAM. I was on in the evenings on 790. We're pals now. So DA, he moved from CBS this week. He moved from CBS to SiriusXM, a shakeup in both national networks. He's working there with Babchick, who you know I love, formerly of Morning Men, every morning on SiriusXM Mad Dog Radio. And now my guy, Evan Cohen, killing it every morning, 6 to 10 a.m. on ESPN Radio. Unsportsmanlike with Evan Canty and Michelle Smallman. So there you go. Everybody knows my favorite show is Amber and Ian, though, every night on ESPN Radio, 7 to 10 p.m., Amber Wilson. So anyway, we'll get DA on the program. We'll have some fun with him, of course. So, Marlins last night. Now, Marlins get killed last night. They lose 7-1, and they go out with a whimper. But you know what? Like, all 4 teams were eliminated yesterday. They all went out with a whimper. And the idea that, it was embarrassing for the Marlins the way they went down. They lost on Tuesday, 4-1. They lost on Wednesday, 7-1. I don't feel embarrassed. It's embarrassing the way the Rays went out. It's embarrassing the way the Brewers went out. The Rays were a wild card team, one of the best teams in baseball. They lost both games at home with a brutal showing from the Rays fan for those 2 games. 19,000 game 1, 20,000 game 2. I don't know what that's about because there have been playoff games at the Trop. The Rays are always good. Lots of playoff games in St. Pete. And they usually get a pretty big crowd. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe because it was a wild card round, which doesn't make sense. But let me tell you something. You can bust on Marlin fans all they want, and they deserve it because we don't show up to Marlins games. But if there was going to be a playoff game there next week, and I bought tickets, I guess I'm getting that money refunded. If there was going to be a playoff game next week, games 3 and 4 against Atlanta with the divisional series here in Miami, that stadium was going to be, if not sold out, close to sold out. 100%. So, and the Marlin fan has been scorned. The Rays fan, if anything, I know the Trop is in a bad location. I know it's a shitburger of a stadium, even though I've never been there. But the Rays are always good. And to do 19,000 and then 20,000 in games 1 and 2 of a baseball playoff game, that's a disgrace. The Marlin fan would have sold out Lone Depot Park next week. So they're building a new stadium. Like, they've come to an agreement. They're building a new stadium there for the Rays. I don't know. If you want to talk about the Marlins don't deserve a team here or Miami doesn't deserve a team here, we would have sold out that ballpark next week. The Rays, for a team that's always good, 19 and then 20,000, games 1 and 2, a disgrace. I don't get that. So, anyway, the Rays losing the way they did, that's embarrassing. The Brewers, NL Central champions, the way they lost, that's embarrassing. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed. And the Twins advance, they get past the Blue Jays. I'm not embarrassed with the Marlins losing yesterday. My only regret is that it was only a 2-game series. I really enjoyed, well, I didn't enjoy myself once, what was it, the 5th inning, 6th inning? When it became, I think it was 6th inning, when Stotts hit the grand slam. Sitting there, it's 3-0, the bases are loaded. They bring in the relief pitcher. First pitch to him. You knew it right off the bat. Right off the bat, and I just shout, grand slam, and I get up off the couch, and I walk out the room. At that point, Marlins on big TV got changed to small TV. There's no way I'm sitting there to watch the last few innings, Marlins down 7-0, to watch their season definitely end. No way was that getting big TV anymore. So that automatically switched to the small TV. Big TV then changed to Inter Miami. And when I put it on the big TV by then, it was 1-1. And the next thing you knew, 4-1 in the blink of an eye with Chicago. That's another thing. Inter Miami's playoff hopes, as Messi has now missed 6 games, Inter Miami's playoff hopes, it seems like it's over. That's why I said when we had Israel Gutierrez on the show, was it Monday we had him on? I told him it feels like Inter Miami's playoff, it feels like it's over. It feels like it's over. So, last night, not a good sports night at all for us. But I'm not embarrassed with the Marlins. My only regret is it was only 2 games. Baseball playoffs are great because every pitch is huge. And we got that for all of Game 1. Game 1, even though it was 4-1, and the Marlins, look, they didn't play well. You were in it the whole game, it felt like. And the first few innings yesterday, you were obviously in it. I just wish the series was longer. I wish it was more than 2 days. It's fun having good baseball. It's fun having your team in the Major League Baseball playoffs. We've gotten to experience it now for several years in a row. 3 years in a row. Well, it's really 4 years. I don't want to count the COVID year because that's kind of bullshit. But 3 years in a row with the Panthers. The Panthers now, finally, first time in franchise history, some sustained success. First time ever 3 years in a row in the postseason. They'd only been to the playoffs 2 years in a row, one time before this stretch. That was 96 and 97. And it's just fun having your team playing meaningful games every year. And the thing with baseball, by the way, see, this is a great season for the Marlins because it was super unexpected. They were kicking ass by the All-Star break, 14 games over. And then they got back in it the final couple weeks of September where every night, even though the postseason only lasted 2 days, the final really 2-3 weeks of September, every night was playoff caliber games. Every night was important, and that's why the Major League Baseball playoffs are so much fun because the last few weeks of your season likely feel like playoff games as well. So I'm not embarrassed at all with the Marlins went out. It was an unexpected season. An unexpected playoff appearance. Just the third time in 31 years of Marlins baseball in a 162-game season that the team is qualified for the postseason. I enjoyed the Marlins run this year. And yeah, so like maybe you spend a little bit of money in the offseason. It is funny for a team that has always touted the pitching. It kind of feels like the pitching's a little bit bare right now, the starting pitching. Now, granted, Yuri Perez, you're hoping he'll be full-time next year. Sandy Alcantara, he'll be back as well. You throw Jesus Luzardo in there. You got 3 top guys you're feeling pretty good about. Spend a little bit of money. Add a little bit more on the offensive end. And maybe you build on it, make a return to the playoffs. Because with the 3 wildcard spots, 7 teams in each league, 7 out of 15 make the playoffs, you really got a chance. So, I'm happy with the Marlins season. Baseball's different like that. You make the playoffs and lose in the first round in the NHL. Make the playoffs and lose in the first round in the NBA. Super disappointing. Make the playoffs and lose in the first round of Major League Baseball. It could still be considered a good season depending on where you came from. And the Marlins had a good season. I don't think there's any other way to look at that. So, there you go. We give you a little bit on the Marlins as far as them losing last night 7-1. And the Phillies now. No baseball tonight. I think everything gets going again Saturday. So it's all 4 teams advance. And by the way, we didn't get any drama. You were hoping for some game 3s today. 2 home teams 1-2-0. 2 road teams 1-2-0. So I would say the home field advantage and, you know, 1 team not having any, it didn't matter. It was relevant. 2 home teams won. 2 road teams won. So now you got Philadelphia and Atlanta in the divisional series. You have Dodgers and Diamondbacks divisional series. Twins Astros. Twins are very easy to root for right now. Great crowds at home. Rangers Orioles. Orioles are going to be very easy to root for because they're never in the playoffs. They always stink. They had the best record in the American League. So I like when the home teams win in the baseball playoffs. The crowd gets so pumped up. The crowd's hanging on every pitch. The players in the dugout are jumping around. I love it. Anyway, and speaking of which, it really did feel like there was kind of a bias against the Marlins on the national broadcast. You know, you had Carl Ravitch, what was it, when they were announcing the Marlins starting lineup in Game 1. They got through the Phillies, and now we got to get to the Marlins. We have to talk about them because they're here. It's like, that's kind of fucked up. And the camera loves showing the dugout, loves showing the players. Do you remember the camera showing the Marlins dugout at all? Like, I know they have anonymous players, but make them not anonymous by showing them and talking about them. You got the National League batting champion, last year's American League batting champion, in the Marlins dugout. Luis Ariz. Don't be afraid. Jorge Soler, he was National League Championship Series MVP 2 years ago. 36 home runs this year. Put a camera on him in the dugout. Jazz Chisholm. Is there a more fun player in baseball? I mean, I know there are, but he's one of the tops. Put the camera on him. It really kind of feels like there was, like the Marlin fan who sits there and says they hate us, and then especially after the umpire last night, who was a real piece of shit behind home plate. That's why the Marlin fan is yelling things like, oh, you know, they hate us, they're against us. It really did feel like that they didn't want the Marlins anything part of this Major League Baseball postseason. It really felt like that. So, there you go, I guess. You get your wish. The Marlins are done. Anyway, so that's what you got as far as the divisional series go. You'll get going again on Saturday. All right, today's a Thursday, which of course means, you guys know what that means. I put out the note last night, or I put it out this morning. I did it this morning, and we're going to do ZASLOW Show 2.0 mailbag. But first, before we get to mailbag, guys, I slept fine last night. How did you sleep last night? Are you sleeping on Sheets and Giggles? If you're not, that's on you. Because I've been telling you about Sheets and Giggles for months now. One of our great sponsors on ZASLOW Show 2.0. I'm talking the most breathable, the coolest, the softest sheets you're ever going to touch. That's right. You lay down on Sheets and Giggles, their bed sheets. You're asleep in minutes. You're going to become one of over 100,000 Americans who are sleeping on Sheets and Giggles. You go to sheetsgiggles.com, and just like the ZASLOW family, You're never turning back. Get the best sleep of your life with their irresistibly soft Eucalyptus Lyocell sheets. It's also the annual fall sale, so we're talking major discounts all across sheetsgiggles.com. Get the best sleep of your life. We're talking a unique satin weave. Their sheets are not only soft, they're so breathable. You're going to sleep cool and comfortable all night long. And the best part, when you check out sheetsgiggles.com, use promo code ZASLOW, Z-A-S-L-O-W. Promo code ZASLOW at sheetsgiggles.com, and you're going to get 20% off your first order. Again, sheetsgiggles.com, promo code ZASLOW. My man Colin, the founder and CEO of Sheets and Giggles, he did it. He's making sure that we're taking care of the environment and we're getting the best sleep of our lives. Sheetsgiggles.com, promo code ZASLOW. Sheetsgiggles.com, promo code ZASLOW. You'll thank me later. Let's get to this week's edition of ZASLOW Show 2.0 Mailbag. So, you can ask anything. I send out the note, you hit reply, boom, there you go. All right, so this week's, and we'll talk about anything. ZASLOW Show 2.0 Mailbag. This question here is from Peter. How long will Liam Eichenberg be allowed to almost get Tua killed on a weekly basis? Well, I think there's good news, Peter. The bad news is Liam Eichenberg sucks balls. He was a second-round pick a couple years ago. He's fucking terrible. There's no other way to put it. And even though there were some problems as far as the snap goes the first couple weeks with Connor Williams has actually been excellent. Liam Eichenberg, I saw PFF rankings, ranked 44 out of 44 eligible centers. He fucking sucks. But the good news is the coach is hoping that Connor Williams and Jalen Phillips are both back this weekend. There was the chance that they were both going to be able to play last week in Buffalo, so I would say it's not going to be much longer that we have to look at this Liam Eichenberg again. He's in his last year with the team. All right, this next question is from, let's see, at Naaris, and he's asking, ZASLOW, what is the long-term solution to fill the void of a reliable and steady point guard for this year's Heat team? Well, you know how I feel about Lowry. Not only do I not think he should start, and I don't think he will, I don't see a spot for him in the rotation. I don't think he should be in the rotation. Hero and Richardson, I think if you want to tag someone as a point guard, those will essentially be the two. But we know that Bam, Jimmy, they have the ball in their hands a ton, initiating offense. There doesn't really have to be a official point guard per se. As far as who it's going to be long-term, there is no long-term answer right now. I told you I would love for the Heat to trade for Malcolm Brogdon. He's always hurt, but trade for Malcolm Brogdon for the Blazers. Would you give up a first-round pick for Malcolm Brogdon? I would. I don't know that the Blazers want to deal with the Heat. Malcolm Brogdon is a very good point guard when he's healthy. But realistically, what's the option at point guard? I don't think there's a real option outside of Kyle Lowry right now, which is obviously frustrating. Kevin asks, ZASLOW, did you hear Tony Storm last night on AEW Dynamite? I am so glad you brought this up. Timeless Tony Storm. I love Tony Storm anyway, and she is on the run of her career right now in AEW. Who knew that she had this kind of personality, this character, Timeless Tony Storm, where she's essentially, she's like an actress. She's doing like a Marilyn Monroe kind of vibe. She is amazing. I mean, besides it, she's so hot. She is amazing. And here she is last night on Dynamite. I have the clip for you here, Kevin. Not only does she throw it to break, or what she thinks is throwing it to break, she then decides to give to Sky Blue what she refers to as a titty slap.
To these very, very important sponsors.
What's that, Tony Storm? She'll pitch to picture in picture. She did a great job pitching to break. Yeah, we'll see you in picture in picture.
A titty slap.
What the? What?
Yeah, you heard that right.
What the hell?
Give me those titties,
Come on now.
Well, 4 years later, we've heard just about every damn thing.
Oh my God, I love her so much. A titty slap. And then she proceeded to slap her titties several times. I love her so much. Now, I do think it then went to commercial break because they do breaks in between matches. I do think that it was a planned spot where she was throwing a break there. Here's a word from our sponsors. And they didn't get to the break right away. It took a few seconds. And I believe that she thought that she was only saying that for the crowd there in front to hear her. Instead, everyone heard it on television, which is awesome. But I'm here for Toni Storm and titty slaps. That's going to have to be something now she does every week. And I would imagine next week the crowd is going to start chanting for titty slaps. Awesome. Love it. I love it, Kevin. This next question is from Patrick. Zaslow, what do you expect out of the Panthers this year? I think they're going to be awesome. I think they're going to be great. Panthers play preseason tonight again at Tampa after losing to Tampa 2-0 the other night. Panthers season starts a week from tonight at Minnesota. They start 3 of their first 4 on the road. I'm so excited for the Panthers. Defensively, I think it's going to be a little bit of a struggle early on because out for the first month or so at least are Brandon Montour and Aaron Ekblad, who are dealing with injuries that they played through into the Stanley Cup Finals. But Oliver Ekman-Larsson has looked really good so far this preseason. The other defenseman that they signed, Mikko something, I think his name is, he's supposed to essentially play that Radko Gudas type role. So I like what I hear about that. Defense, I think, is going to be a little bit of an issue early on. But offensively, big hopes for Evan Rodriguez. Is he the new, winger that Bill Zito finds off the scrap heap from Colorado last year? So I have hopes for him, and it looks like he'll be on the top line alongside Sasha Barkov. And Mackie Samoskevich looks like he may make the team for day one, and he's been on the second line with Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett. So I'm really happy how Mackie Samoskevich has looked so far. I'm very excited about the Panthers. I think they're going to be really, really good. And finally, I got one more question here. This is from Ben. Zaslow, how do you prepare for ZASLOW Show 2.0 every single day? Excellent question. So, yeah, I wake up early in the morning, believe it or not. I wake up early. I get my coffee, of course. And there are a couple of shows I listen to in the morning to kind of get a feel for what's going on. I'm taking some notes. The shows that I listen to every morning, I listen to Starting Lineup on SiriusXM NBA Radio, Frank and Scal, Frank Isola and Brian Scalabrine. I'm a huge fan of both of them. I get my NBA stuff from them. I love that show. I'll tune in for a little bit Unsportsmanlike, ESPN Radio, Evan Cohen, because that's my guy, and I'll listen to them. And if I didn't listen the night before, I always listen. I'll go back in the podcast. Amber and Ian, I want to make sure I listen to Amber, not just because I get info there, but because I'm always going to support her. So I listen to Amber and Ian in the podcast in the mornings. And those are like my 3 go-to shows every morning. And then on top of it, look, obviously we have a whole team who produces and edits the show and everything here at the Zaslow Mansion behind the scenes. But I get in the mix also, and I'll edit clips, and I'll put some stuff together and make sure we're prepared for the show. So there you have it. That's how we do it. And that right there, I appreciate all the questions, guys. And that right there is another edition of a Thursday edition of ZASLOW Show 2.0 Mailbag. Guys, before we get to Damon Amendola, and we'll do some NFL, like I said, maybe a little wild card with him. We'll ask him his national perspective on the Dolphins. I want to make sure you guys are taken care of the way that I am. And that means you got to make sure you're getting your insurance at the best rate possible and that your home is covered. And I send you to Brunt Insurance. I'm not just randomly sending you to Brunt Insurance and Financial Services. I've been getting my homeowner's insurance from Brunt Insurance for almost 10 years now. Matter of fact, Brunt Insurance just recently celebrated their 10-year anniversary. Brunt Insurance, bruntinsurance.com, 954-589-2204. Not just homeowners insurance, Brunt Insurance since 2013 specialized in home, auto, life insurance. I get my home insurance through Brunt Insurance, and that's what you're looking for. Well, wherever you're calling from in the state of Florida. 954-589-2204. They have locations all throughout the state. So wherever you're calling from, Greg Brunt and his team, they know your area. They're going to know exactly what type of coverage you need to make sure that you're not caught off guard. They specialize in making sure that you know everything that's going on in your policy. Their fully licensed staff helps you every step of the way. Their agents specialize in educating you on all of your options. Want to make sure that you're not caught off guard by anything. And like I said, when you call 954-589-2204, you're making the right call, because not just homeowners insurance, car insurance, motorcycle, boaters insurance, and the best rate out there. 954-589-2204. Greg Brunt and his team, they've helped me along the way, and they're going to do the same for you. Go to bruntinsurance.com.